I'm Sarah Ryan. I'm the Program Director for Brilliant Labs Nova Scotia, and we're very excited for today's presentation. One more moment here. All right, so I want to welcome everybody who has joined us today. We have a really exciting presentation, one that's really close to my heart because it combines several aspects of science and making that I'm really excited about. Just a advisory that this session is being recorded. So you are being recorded in the public chat, and if you do not have your camera on, you're not being recorded on camera. So let me introduce the Bio Buddies. This is Trisha, we have Emily and Anne, and these ladies are 4 high school students from California, and they started out with tinkering with biomaterials in a garage makerspace and have gone on to win the Biodesign Challenge Summit Outstanding Field Research Award. Wow. And we're runners-up for the grand prize in New York City. During their time in New York, they had to display at Parsons in the Life in Reply Gallery, presented at the New School and presented at the MoMA as finalists. Exciting. Thank you so much for joining us here today, and we encourage you to join in with the public chat as we go through our presentation, and there will be time at the end for questions, and we welcome your questions. So let's get going, ladies. Welcome, and we're so excited.
Thank you, Sarah, for the introduction. So we'll just get started off. Hi, I'm Trisha.
I'm Anne, and we're the Bio Buddies. So we're a garage makerspace team from the California Bay Area. And we all go to different high schools, but we meet up outside of school during our free time to work on biomaterial craft projects and developing educational materials. And we created the Grow It Yourself GIY Bio Buddies Kit that you see in the bottom right of your screen.
So the GIY Bio Buddies Kit is an approachable and affordable toy biomaterial kit that sustains and grows interest in making, crafting, science, and sustainable design. So the biomaterials that we've centered our kit around are kombucha leather and mycelium, and biomaterials are essentially things that are grown by living organisms.
Yeah, and so we started our journey of bioexploration and developing this kit as a submission for the Biodesign Challenge. And the Biodesign Challenge is an international design challenge around creating something with biodesign and bioengineering, and actually opened up to high school teams the year we entered, and before it was for universities. So we wanted to focus on tackling the plastic problems, specifically in the toy industry, and a focus was to engage the public in biodesign and environmental sustainability, and we wanted to do that through the intersection of bio, art, and making, and with simple crafts. So we developed biomaterial activities to get people of all ages started in exploring bio and biodesign.
So we started our Bio Buddies project in the fall of 2018 with the intent to enter the 2019 Biodesign Challenge. And we started with no prior experience in biodesign. So our instructor started us off by having us just grow biomaterials and experiment with them and figure out the different properties and what we might use them for. And in the process of that experimentation, we realized that we were having so much fun just crafting with the materials that it might be a good idea to make a toy kit so that other people like us with minimal experience could start engaging with biomaterials in a fun and approachable way. So once we made that decision to kind of gear towards a toy kit, we were developing kit activities and we tested them out at public workshops around the Bay Area, which let us not only engage with our community, but also get some feedback on our kits and improve them for the final Biodesign Challenge presentation. And when we went to New York City for the presentation at the end in June 2019, We were awarded the overall runner-up award and the outstanding field research awards. And then, I don't know, Trisha, do you want to try to play the video?
Yeah.
So we made a short video that we played at the Biodesign Challenge. We'll see
In a world where plastic rules all, 90%
Okay,
of
I'm just
toys
gonna
are
mute
made of
myself,
some
and I
sort
think
of.
everyone can hear it.
In a world where plastic rules all, 90% of toys are made of some sort of unrecyclable plastic.
Our brave biomaterial rebels, Fungus and Scooby, have come to save our planet. Together, they will battle the evil forces of plastic. But wait, they can't do it alone.
Join their mission of ridding the world of plastic, one Bio Buddies kit at a time.
We're the Bio Buddies.
Our mission is to provide you with eco-friendly toy kits to explore, play, grow, and create with biomaterials. As the world is becoming more aware of environmental sustainability, it's time to move away from plastic. This is where biomaterial design comes in to save the day.
Our biomaterial growing kit incorporates science, nature, and art to make biodesign more approachable.
We've designed 2 biomaterial growing kits, Scooby and Fungus. Scooby is a kombucha growing kit, and Fungus is a mycelium kit. Each kit includes the necessary supplies to grow the biomaterial and explore with it.
The average toy fad lasts 8 months. Our goal is to create a sustainable kit that can be played with, explored, and developed to sustain interest over a long period of time. The entire exploration journey cycle is accessible, educational, and fun.
We tap into the waste stream by feeding our cultures with used coffee grounds, sugary drinks, and tea leaves. First, users grow their biomaterials.
Then they can play and explore through personalized projects with their materials. Of course, not all projects will succeed, so we encourage users to celebrate their fails.
In the future, we hope that we can sell our kits online or even in retail stores like Target to people of all ages. As our kits don't fit into a specific category, we think that they would best fit into the craft or miscellaneous kit aisle.
Help us save the earth by redesigning the toy industry.
Bio Buddies out!
Okay, yeah, so that was our quick little video. But currently, we're still working towards making biomaterial explorations accessible through our social media, tutorial videos up on our YouTube channel, and our illustrated instructions for growing and activities on our website. And as you can see by the video, we're currently working to make the kit a real product very soon. We're planning on creating a kombucha growing kit to be sold on Etsy, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Okay. And now we're going to talk about the biomaterials that our kit focuses on. We have 2 that we focus on, kombucha leather and mycelium. So we'll talk about what each biomaterial is, how to grow it, and also like activities you can explore with it. So what is Scooby/kombucha leather? Scooby stands for a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast, and is bacterial cellulose layer that is grown by kombucha, which is kind of known as a health drink. You can see it in the right, because it has like healthy bacteria in it, but that bacteria and yeast in it also grows that raft you can see in the top. So if you take that out and dry it, it becomes really thin and papery, and that's what we call kombucha leather.
So kombucha leather is actually fairly easy to grow at home, and you're going to find most of the materials that you need to grow it in your house, or they're pretty easy to get. The main thing that you're going to need to buy is a bottle of kombucha, which you can get at most grocery stores for around $3. So I'm just going to walk you through some quick steps on how to grow kombucha. Emily put a link in the chat with our illustrated instructions if you want to follow along. So the first step is to brew some sugary tea. The sugary tea is like kombucha food, so the sugary tea is fermented by the kombucha. So when you combine the kombucha that you bought in the store with the sugary tea that you brewed at home, that lets the kombucha start growing and creating a Scooby at the top of the liquid. You want to let your kombucha culture sit for a few weeks, and you can see in step number 3, we covered our kombucha jars and we drew faces on them because why not, and it was fun. And then after letting it sit for a few weeks, the Scooby grows at the top of the jar, which you can see pretty clearly in step number 4. It's that light layer kind of at the top of the mason jar. And when your Scooby is thick enough, you can take it out and let it dry, which you can see in step 5. And your Scooby will turn from being wet and squishy and looking kind of slimy to looking more like paper after a few weeks when it's dried.
So after growing the kombucha leather, you might be wondering, what can you use it for? Well, we've created 4 different types of activities related to existing and popular toys, such as Legos and dolls, to get the user familiar with the growing process of kombucha. And all of the activities incorporate scraps of kombucha leather so that even the small fails are being used. And our resources, such as illustrated instructions, YouTube tutorial videos, templates, and more, are all available on our website as well. So the first activity that you can see here are the kombucha Lego wings. So users can place the kombucha leather onto 3D printed Lego wings that we've each designed, and that can also snap onto Legos. So this allows the users to connect both kombucha leather to a toy that's more familiar to them. And then the second activity are the kombucha kaleidoscopes. So the user can assemble, personalize, and place kombucha leather into a petri dish. And they can also incorporate like natural elements such as leaves or flowers. And this activity allows the users to connect kombucha leather and nature into their journey as well.
Okay, and then the third one you see is our paper doll project. So each of us created a character silhouette to laser cut out of these paper cards so that all the user needs to do is place pieces of kombucha leather inside the card and behind that silhouette to dress your doll. And it's a really good way to use up scraps and fails like kombucha leather that might be like kind of unusable or sticky, and also like easy to decorate and explore with. And you can also use natural materials. And then the fourth one is a lantern. So it's just 8 circles of kombucha leather that you can like glue together or just use water to create an LED lantern. It's pretty easily customized and is also like a neat combination of incorporating simple circuitry into biomaterial activities. And an additional like bonus activity is creating stickers. It's really simple. You just like can use Sharpie on a piece of kombucha leather and then like wet it or use glue and create your own sustainable sticker. And each of these projects is meant to be a unique combination of art, science, and the creativity of the user. And again, we have video instructions on our YouTube channel.
The second biomaterial that we focus on in our kit is called mycelium, and our character for mycelium is fungus, you can see at the top of your screen. So mycelium is like the network of a fungus that's like plant roots, and they can be molded into any form. So if you look at that diagram in the middle of the screen, the mycelium is that part of the mushroom that's underground. And unlike how we eat, where we put food in our mouths to eat, mushrooms are unique in that they grow into their food, which means that you can shape mycelium into whatever form its food is in. So that thing you see in the bottom left corner that looks a little bit like a spaceship, that was just what happens when you press mycelium food into a dish strainer. It grows into that shape. And that lets us create cool forms like the mini planter that Emily designed in the bottom right corner of the screen. Mycelium is a little bit harder to grow than kombucha, but there are a bunch of online kits that you can order to help you get started. So the one that we have on the screen is from a company called Ecovative, and you can buy that for about $13 off of their website. And Ecovative is also a super cool mushroom company. They're trying to replace styrofoam packaging with mycelium packaging, and they're also making bacon out of mushrooms. So that's kind of cool too. And once you get a bag of your inactive mycelium, which is what you buy online, you activate it with flour and water, and then you can press it into whatever shape you want, as we're doing in step number 2. Once you've pressed your mycelium food into a form, you want to let it sit for a few weeks and grow and eat that mycelium food. And when it does that, it'll look white and fuzzy like you see in step number 4. So after a few weeks, it'll look white and fuzzy, and you want to take it out and put it in the oven to bake the mycelium, which makes it inactive, and then you end up with a cool mycelium thing.
So similar to our Scooby activities, the fungus activities are also entry points for designing with mycelium, as there are several different ways to grow one's mycelium. So the first activity are simple plastic molds. Users can just like recycle any plastic molds they have, such as water bottles or chocolate trays, and create cool forms with mycelium, as you can see in the left picture. Yeah. And then the second activity are the planters that we've designed. So there are 3 sets of mold designed in Tinkercad, and then we vacuum form them using recycled jugs to create these interesting creatures that you can mix and match with. And to get more advanced, users can also 3D design their own molds as well. And the third activity, it's like you don't really have to design a mold. You can just use whatever structures or containers that you have to create like a doll or a toy of any sort. And the user can do all three of these activities in order to get familiar with the whole growing process of mycelium.
Okay, and then in the fourth picture, it's not something we have instructions for, but it's meant to be kind of a glimpse at a project where you can apply like this growing process and apply biomaterials in a more functional, advanced way. It's basically to grow an incubator. So an incubator is a device that kind of creates a perfect growing environment for an organism. For example, for mycelium, you kind of want it to be warm and enclosed. So it's basically growing an incubator for mycelium out of mycelium. And it includes circuitry and coding. So you could use Cricut and Circuit Playground Express hardware. And also you could design your own dial so that you can adjust the temperature of the heating pad that is inside. And it's also just a useful tool and also brings in a new perspective on technology and looks more like a goofy pet than a device. This is a great example of mixing technology with biomaterials and helps make circuitry and tech more approachable and fun.
Another big part about what we do is just workshops and outreach. So you can see a couple of our workshops on the screen. We like doing some public workshops around the Bay Area, which has been a little harder during shelter in place, but we've started doing more online webinars like we're doing right now, which has actually let us reach a wider audience than normal. So that's kind of cool. And it's really fun getting to share our activities with those around us and getting to see how the kids react to the activities. And everyone is so creative. It's super inspiring to see what people do with biomaterials, and always helps to get feedback on our activities. And aside from doing public workshops, we also present at professional conferences. We presented at educators conferences and conferences around biology. And not only do we get to share our resources with other educators so they can start incorporating biomaterials and sustainable design into their curriculum, but we also get to see what cool things other people are doing and how they're using biodesign and the innovative practices that they're doing.
So we're currently working on creating a small-scale, low-cost kombucha growing kit on Etsy, and it would include all the necessary materials for growing Scooby, and it honestly just makes the whole process a lot easier as all the tools are included. And we've included our speculative kit design on the left side that we submitted for the Biodesign Challenge, and then on the right, there are some of the materials that we'll be including in the kit as well. And then there's Anne at Target looking very excited. But if you're interested in buying one, or if you need any help with growing kombucha, like feel free to contact us, as we'll always be there to help you.
We also wanted to share kind of what we've learned throughout our journey with biomaterials. And the first one is to reach out and ask questions, because there's so many people around us that are doing really cool things and are experts in so many fields, and they're happy to talk about their work and even help you with yours if you ask. And also that the process is at least as important as the final product. It's always really great to kind of focus on exploring rather than like where you're heading. And that kind of ties into explore in your own way. So just to make sure like you're having fun and incorporating elements that you find interesting, and just personalizing your journey. And also engaging with your community was something we focused on throughout our journey. We always make sure to share and learn from those around us. And also it's great to build connections and relationships locally.
Yeah, so we've like finished our presentation. Here are some useful, I guess, resources. We have our website, our YouTube channel, our Instagram, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now.
I'm seeing a question in the chat. Oh, sorry, did I cut someone off?
No.
Oh, okay. I heard biomaterials aren't waterproof. Is that a problem?
I think with like kombucha leather, we found that it definitely isn't waterproof, because you can like use water to kind of stick it onto paper, or like we use water to kind of like re-wet the kombucha leather. But what we've been like doing now, you can use wax. You can seal the kombucha leather in wax to kind of preserve it, and yeah, that kind of helps with the whole waterproof problem.
I also think like kind of having impermanent or kind of, I guess, dissolvable materials is kind of like the whole idea of doing like a sustainable kit, where you have something that we're okay with being temporary, I guess.
Yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we can answer them for you. Okay, what would your message be to science or biology teachers and art teachers about the advantages to combining these subjects? Ooh, interesting.
Well, I think it kind of brings new perspectives to both subjects, because when you're bringing kind of art into science, it kind of helps you be maybe more creative and playful, maybe. And bringing science into art is really neat because you can kind of have these natural like inspirations, I guess.
I think also.
personally think that. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. That's all good.
Okay. I was just gonna say also at the younger ages, it's really cool to start having kids think interdisciplinarily about their subjects, because I feel like, at least in my experience through high school, all the subjects are very separate, and they all have their own sphere. So getting to combine different subjects through activities like these, it kind of helps students start thinking about intersections and how things can kind of work together to make something even more interesting.
Okay, the next question is kombucha leather heat resistant? It isn't, right? It's not.
I don't think so. We haven't tested that specifically, but we should do that now.
I don't think it's super like flammable though, right? Because it's very water based, so, but probably not very. And then what's the most challenging thing about biomaking?
I think for me, it's like waiting for it to grow, because it's like not something that, I don't know, I guess I'm just very used to like having things like pre-made, I guess, but that's also the fun thing about biomaterial growing, because you know, it takes time to grow whatever you're making. And yeah, GIY is grow it yourself.
Yeah, I agree with Trisha. I think also, along with having to wait with this like biological or this organism growing your material, it's kind of hard because it's not really consistent. So you can never be sure that your material is going to turn out the same or is going to turn out like usable. So there's always like, it always varies, or I guess each material is unique, so it could be a good thing too.
Yeah, for me, I think the hardest thing about biomaking is trying to keep my cultures not contaminated. Because it's really easy to forget to clean everything before you start working with your biomaterials. So I've had multiple cases where I forget to clean something and then my culture gets contaminated and it dies. But that's part of the process.
Coming from a microbiology background, I can certainly relate with that. And I was going to mention, actually, if you go, how much agar you go through, but have you ever had a contamination that actually worked towards like added a neat part to a project or something that you're able to work with?
I think with like, I don't know if I remember correctly, but I think with the kombucha leather, there was some like weird lumpy stuff growing on it. It's obviously also contaminated, but when it dried, it kind of had like these cool like I guess circular patterns, I guess. So it made an interesting design on the kombucha leather. Oh, and someone asked, is there an ETA for when the kit may be available on Etsy? Good question. Maybe in, I don't want to say, maybe like in the next month or so, we'll try to get it by then. Yeah.
If you want us to keep in touch, you can put your, or maybe you can email us or follow us on Instagram and we can let you know when it's up.
we'll send out a follow-up email to all of the participants so that we have that information in there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, we have a question. How do you add color to the kombucha leather?
We've been using food coloring or soap dye. And then we tried some natural coloring with beet juice. And I think there's cactus fruit where we're using that too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think you can either put it into your culture, like if it's food dye, it's or like food coloring, it's fine to have in your culture, or you can like add it on or like drop it on when it's wet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there are definitely ways to use like natural dyes to color your kombucha. So, yeah.
Okay.
Is there a way to make kombucha leather waterproof? I think Trisha touched on this. You can dip it in wax and that'll seal it and make it slightly water resistant. Is that right, Trisha?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
It's also kind of fun to play with kombucha leather as it's sticky too. So like there was a sticker activity, I forget if Emily or Trisha mentioned this one, but we were playing around with our kombucha leather and we realized if you get it wet, it turns kind of into like a sticker, so you can stick it on a paper. So it's kind of fun to work with that property too.
I had a question. What would your advice be to students who would like to take on an innovative project such as this while they're in school? Because you did mention that there's, within some of the projects, there's quite a bit of a waiting time. And I love the comment that the process is just as important or possibly more than the product, because we live in an age where we kind of want to have things right away, results, but that can be the beautiful part. So what would you suggest to teachers and classes who are looking to get started? What are the important key parts?
I think kind of more on what we said in like that last slide about what we've learned. It's kind of keeping it playful, I guess, and kind of focusing on what's interesting to you. So for us, we added like Anne said, faces to the coffee filters and created crafts with the materials we're growing. So I think incorporating your own passions into your journey is really important.
Awesome.
And also while the growing process takes I think someone asked how long does it take? It takes about like 2-ish weeks depending on how strong your culture is. But while you're waiting for those 2 weeks, you could definitely start exploring ways that how do you want to make with your kombucha leather, because 2 weeks is a lot of time. You can kind of start I guess getting inspiration or just prototyping with paper as your kombucha leather and just find ways to create different activities, I guess.
Exactly.
I just want to echo what Emily and Trisha said. It's finding ways to fill that wait time is really fun. Also, we did a lot of tracking with observation logs and that kind of thing. And that's also super fun to do. You get to if you're trying to design a curriculum for your students with growing kombucha leather, maybe it's having them sketch their kombucha jar every once in a while or write down what's different. That's kind of fun to do too. And also to try to stay engaged with your biomaterials while they're growing. It's also fun to research what other people are doing with the materials. So we found some super cool stuff that people are doing, like someone made a Wonder Woman cosplay outfit just out of kombucha leather, and that was pretty cool. So just looking at what other people are doing is a super cool thing to do to inspire yourself while you're waiting for your stuff to grow.
Would you think that, or maybe there is a network of different makers out there in the biomaterials or in the biomaking area, kind of like we have different Thingiverse for 3D printing where people get together and share their designs and ideas. Are we at that point yet, or is that something that maybe you ladies are working on?
There's actually a website called mycelium.org or .com.
Okay. Material. Okay.
I think I'll get the link as I'm talking. It's like a biomaterial library, I guess, and
nice.
people can post their like different biomaterials that they're making. I think someone was making something out of like the avocado skin, or even with like agar or like bioplastics, things like that. Yeah, and put it in the chat. But feel free to just like scroll through that and see what other people are making, and they have all the recipes listed, so you can make it at home yourself too.
So how long till you see, or maybe we are, that we're going to see a lot of bio made fashions on like the Paris runways and stuff like that? I'm really into wearable technology and fashion that is both fashionable and functional. And when you add the addition of biomaterials, it's just blows it up even more. Do you foresee us seeing more kind of high-end, high street styles made out of biomaking? Or are we not there yet? Or you're working there towards that?
Yeah, I think we're getting there. Yeah, I think like from what Ecovative is working on, and Micah works, like kind of creating like actual leather substitutes almost. And I think there was like a few brands that actually have like kombucha leather jackets, or maybe it's mycelium jackets. But yeah, getting there.
Yeah, when you mentioned cosplay, and oh, sorry. So for people who do cosplay, which are sometimes often young people, it's not necessarily in their budget to spend a lot of money on leathers. I know when I was doing things in the past that you have a small budget, that this is a way that you can replicate some of your favorite characters' costumes. I'm just kind of thinking of Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or something like that, like the Mother of Dragons outfit. So it really opens up the possibility for others to work with a material that is, biodegradable, biosafe, but also innovative. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, I just put a link in the chat for a company that's making mushroom leather. And I might be wrong, but I think this company collaborated with Stella McCartney to make a couple of mushroom purses. So yeah, I think it's getting out there. It's cool.
Also, speaking of cosplay, there's actually like a really cool like story we found of a woman who does cosplay and created kind of a costume out of kombucha leather. That was really neat, because a part of it is how it's kind of meant like a costume you wear once, right? So it'd be neat to kind of look at making it out of sustainable materials.
Also, I wanted to add that like kombucha leather and mycelium aren't the only biomaterials. Like there are like several other brands creating like products out of like coconut husks. There's this brand that I follow that like has pretty cool products with like coconut husks and like other types of materials. So you're not just restricted to like those two biomaterials. Like there's a lot more.
I think we had another question that was submitted prior to the session. Let me just find it here. Oh, what should students look for when they're looking for a mentor, like an adult, to guide them with this process? So maybe like the younger students are looking for a volunteer, a mentor to help them move forward. I know you mentioned being able to be playful, be patient, creative. Anything else come to mind?
I think for us, like having our instructor was kind of, she didn't necessarily like tell us exactly what to do, but she gave us more of like the freedom. Like, here's a bunch of things, here's like a bunch of things that you could do. And then we kind of just explored and played around ourselves, which I think was more helpful, rather than having like a more like traditional teacher kind of overview the process. But Anne and Emily, you guys can add to what I'm saying, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It was we're lucky our instructor gave us that room to explore. So she guided us without telling us exactly what to do, like Trisha said. But for students who are looking for a mentor, I think a good place to start is just finding a teacher that you click with, or whose class you really enjoyed, or their way of teaching, and just reach out to them and propose whatever project you want to do. And that might be a good place to start looking for a mentor.
Wonderful. So it's not necessary that the mentor really has much of a background or knowledge of this, but they're willing to supervise, have the basic understanding of the science and the process, but they don't have to be an expert. They're more of like a guide on the side sort of thing. So no, that's great.
Yeah, actually, I think a big part of what was so great about our journey was that we were kind of learning alongside with our mentor, because like bio design is such a new thing that it was more of like a collaboration almost at times because we were all trying to figure out what we're doing.
Amazing. So do you have any next projects on the horizon that are going to kind of, you mentioned going outside of the mycelium and the kombucha leather. Are you looking at working with other fibers? Maybe you want to keep it top secret for now.
We haven't started thinking about other materials yet. We were looking at the Materion website, and there were a couple that look super cool that we want to try out. But for now, we're going to try to stick with mycelium and kombucha leather and try to get a kit out there and see how that goes.
For sure. Well, I know that as I go through my day, and especially when the weather's warmer and I look around, I'm going to look at things a little bit differently because there's so many opportunities to create and make with nature and not be disruptive about it. And that definitely could vary from where you live, from your geographical area to geographical, but what you're doing with the kombucha mycelium is perfect because you can pretty much replicate that in any indoor surroundings. So it's a great way to start. Very inclusive.
Yeah.
All right, do we have any other questions here or comments? And again, we'll be sending out an email to all of our participants with some information and the links that have been shared in the chat, and so that we can keep in touch, because it sounds like there's some really great resources out there to be inspired. And of course, we want to keep our eye open for these kits that you have ready in the next little while. So that's going to be awesome. You ladies are very, very inspiring, considering you're in high school. It just really warms my heart and my colleagues' heart. I'm sure a lot of people here just how innovative, and you're not afraid to kind of take the step into an area that's pretty much pioneering the area. So that really helps to break down some of the barriers for people who would feel like they maybe couldn't kind of get out of their area of comfort. So very inspiring. I think you're the youngest people we've had in our speaker series so far, but this is wonderful. I'd like to hear more from you. So before we end the session here, we'll just want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know that this is pretty early in your day with the time difference, but you're wonderful and inspiration to all of us, young and old.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. It's super fun getting to share activities and chat with you all.
Sure.
Thank you, Sarah, and the Brilliant Labs team for letting us talk. We really appreciate it.
Of course, we'll share your connection for socials, and we'll keep the conversation going. And as our students in the Atlantic Canada create projects, we'll share them with you, and hopefully get some of your kits when they're ready. Great. Thank you so much, ladies, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I'm going to stop the recording now.
So feel free to contact us and just reach out to us. We'll be happy to talk to you as well.
Sure, we'll follow up with some of the results and questions and comments directly to the three of you.
Great, yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye. Are we supposed to leave? I don't know. Okay, bye.
You're good to go, guys. Thank you so much.